Hey, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Before we get started, there is a major shift coming to the channel come the beginnings of May, but fret not, I will be very active and streaming regularly on Twitch. So if you have not created an account yet and followed me over on my Twitch channel, that is Dark Spider David for the username. So it's twitch.tv/DarkSpiderDavid. We're currently holding a goal of 50 followers, so if you can help out with that by checking out the channel, checking out past broadcasts that I've done, and seeing if you like what you see, hit the follow button. You won't regret it. See you then. The internet. The internet is gonna have a field day with this one. By this one, I'm not talking about a review. Nobody really cares about what I say, but I'm talking about the latest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the last film we're actually gonna get to witness before we wrap things out to a close for certain folks in Avengers Endgame, and that is the inclusion and the introduction of Captain Marvel, a film that I think kind of joins the ranks of maybe Guardians of the Galaxy and then a couple of other characters that were a bit more on the obscure side, more so than some of your mainstay characters like Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and Thor. And of course, this is also a very seminal film, or rather a much more important film, because it is a female superhero. Not only a female superhero in general, but also a very standalone and also very emblematic female superhero for the Marvel side of characters. We just got Wonder Woman recently for DC. Now this is kind of like Marvel's equivalent to that, where we get the introduction of Captain Marvel, played by Brie Larson, trying to protect Earth from a potential Skrull invasion, and also tells some of the origin stories of some characters that you already know, such as Nick Fury, and then a couple of other little things here and there that I'm not really going to ruin for you, since the story takes place in the 90s. So not only is it an origin story for Captain Marvel herself, but also for so many other things that we've come to know inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But that's not necessarily the center point of this film. It is, of course, the fact that this is meant to be an empowering film for female moviegoers, and of course females in general, in the sense that females that love pop culture in a very general sense, whether it be comic books, movies, TV shows, video games. And honestly, I'm completely behind this film, because as I walked out of it, I liked it. I liked it actually an awful lot, and I'm a little surprised to see some of the things that have been said about this film from some critics that I've watched and heard and listened to and followed for so long, only to say things that were just completely not on my mind walking out of the film. And I'm trying to remain as objective as I possibly can, considering the current tension right now of so many different things. And trust me, this is coming from a guy who hates ultra feminist views, extreme feminist views, the likes of from certain websites where they actually start to teeter into sexism against men. And I'm not gonna really go too deep into that, because I hate that shit. I really hate it, because it's very hypocritical. With that said, I'm still behind this movie because I generally just enjoyed it for what it was, which was a film with a female character as your protagonist who was whooping ass. Because not only did I personally liked Brie Larson in the role, I thought she brought a good dimension to the character. I'm not gonna say she's the most, she brought a sense of dimension, but I'm not gonna say that she's like one of the best characters inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe till this point, but she still was able to carry the movie on her own, not only with her issues of dealing with her past and how it's kind of obscured from her and whether or not she's 100% human or not, but also when she crash lands on Earth and kind of playing a little bit on the fish out of water type humor and story element, only not as well as maybe it could have, which is probably one of my nitpicks about the film, is that maybe they could have done a little bit better, more either more humorous things or much more sentimental things, with Carol Danvers coming back to Earth after being for so long and trying to kind of retrace her steps and stuff like that. Like, there's certain things here and there that I think would have either hit her or hit other folks a little harder, and I think the film didn't take full advantage of that. Now, welcoming her to Earth is Nick Fury, a very young, two-eyed Nick Fury, along with the help of a young Coulson, trying to kind of get his wings, or rather his patch, in both figuratively and literally, into becoming that head of S.H.I.E.L.D. that we've always known. And this is very much a completely different Nick Fury. I think Samuel L. Jackson really shined in this version of Nick Fury because he's completely different than what you've always known him to be, kind of in the shadows, lurking, keeping the secrets, keeping things very close to his vest. This is a very different, very unseasoned Nick Fury, but still kind of has little seeds of what he's going to be later on, and he did a really good job with that. Very humoristic, and it's funny because one of the things that really worked with this version of Nick Fury is how well he really did work with Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers, who had a really good charismatic dynamic relationship that made me go, this movie, this is a good thing that we got a Captain Marvel movie, but I was really hankering for a Captain Marvel show. Watching these two go back and forth, I will watch that shit for a season. Sadly, another nitpick of mine though is that there's other things here and there that they could have also fleshed out a little bit better. My boy, Coulson. I'm sorry if this is partially a spoiler, but he barely gets any screen time in here. And it was like, it's funny because this whole time I thought that maybe him distancing himself away from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the actor Clark Gregg, was because he was going to have such a pivotal, very important role to play here in Captain Marvel. And not so much. Not so much, and that was a little disappointing because I'm a huge Coulson fan, not only with his inclusion in the MCU, but also with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So to see that they did some really great effects on making him look younger, but it doesn't really go deeper than that, it was a little disappointing. And the same thing could be said for a couple of other characters, both on Earth and also interplanetary, that I thought could have done a little bit more with that character after all the hullabaloo of the marketing saying so-and-so's coming back or so-and-so's going to be included, and I'm just like, well, what was all that big hurrah about including this character in here if you're not really going to do that much for the cat? The goddamn Goose the cat got more shine in this movie than those characters did. And sure, Goose does his part of stealing certain scenes, but to me, I was like, well, yeah, the way that they were kind of playing around the cat, I was like, yeah, I was expecting that. It was cool to see, but it was just like, yeah, it was a gag that I feel like I've seen before. And here, they just kind of retreaded that a little bit, but hey, you cat people, you're going to have a delight with that one. Here's the thing though, those are mostly nitpicks. My only major problem with the film that has nothing to do with the whole, her being female and all that, has to do with that the film suffers a little bit by, I've always referred to the term sequelitis, about sequels trying to do too much and to put in too many characters and too many subplots. This does have a very mild case of prequelitis, where you try to over-explain certain things as to why they happen and why they are in the current state of affairs that you have with those prior films. In this case, the MCU, connections to Nick Fury, connections to Carol Danvers, and most importantly, connections to certain little Easter eggs here and there where you're like, oh, well, look, it's that thing that you've always known. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that it's right there. I don't know why it has to be here. I feel like you could have gone with something a little bit different. And now here, that being here, I'm actually asking more questions like how did this thing kind of bounce back and forth between hands, some certain character trait features that have their own origin that are a little bit played up for laughs, and to be honest, I would have preferred for them to have played it a little bit more straight. Yeah, it's amusing, but I think they could have done something different. That was my main issue with Captain Marvel that kept me from fully really loving this film. And also some of the humor, well, I would probably say that most of the humor worked, and then other humorous lines or gags are thrown in there because they almost know that because we do have a character that is supposed to be empowering women, there are also going to be young girls going to go see this, and it's tame in that sense. And because of that, they tame down certain things or certain jokes that I looked at and go, well, I didn't expect that to be in the Marvel movie, but I guess, for the kids. For the kids, I guess. What I did kind of find surprising a little bit, however, is the inclusions of the Skrulls. Without dealing into many spoilers, let's just say that you don't necessarily know much if you already have a preconceived notion about the Skrulls going into this film, because they are shapeshifters, as you've seen from the trailer. Captain Marvel taking a whack at that old lady never gets old, but more importantly, the Skrulls play a big part in the plot that I did not really see coming, and I honestly thought that the twist around certain things in the story were generally caught me off guard. They didn't necessarily floor me going, oh my god, I was not expecting it. Didn't have that profound effect on me, but it was enjoyable to see that, okay, we're not gonna just play this very by the book. We at least gotta bring something different that makes you kind of enjoy the ride. But what's definitely for all ages is Captain Marvel wrecking up some good shop. especially towards the end. I thought to myself, woohoo, yeah. You know, I have my own things to say about this particular phrase because I have my theories, but Thanos, you better watch out, bro. There you have it, the honest truth. I thoroughly enjoyed Captain Marvel, really liked it. In fact, I like it better still than some of the weaker MCU movies, Thor the Dark World, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2. I still really dig Captain Marvel enough to maybe catch it on TV or on home video one more time and kind of pick apart certain things that I looked at and go, that's kind of interesting. I wonder how I'm going to feel about certain things that we've seen before in MCU because of that. One particular is actually making the meme rounds right now on Twitter, but beware of spoilers. And yes, there are end credit scenes. Personally, I feel like they could have switched the end credit scenes to kind of give it a little bit more heft, because if I've always lived by a rule within the past couple of years that if they have 2 end credit scenes, one of them is going to be for gags, in this case quite literally, and then the other one's going to be played straight. And the straight one in this one is one that quite had my heart rapidly beating, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Captain Marvel is going to be fitting into the MCU, specifically Endgame. And this movie did a good job at kind of building that hype and a very good standalone origin for Captain Marvel to boot. So I'm going to be giving Captain Marvel a very solid 8 out of 10. Although I don't know if it's a licensing thing, but I think they could have picked some better 90s songs. That's just me, but because I have a fair share of 90s library to dig through, and I was hoping for some songs to pop in here and there, and they weren't. They weren't. And I was a little disappointed by that, but I guess you can't have them all. I guess they all can't be Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of Captain Marvel. What are your guys' opinions for the film by being a Marvel film, by being a standalone superhero film, and solely on that, because that's where we should judge a film by its merits. Let's just remember that, and let's all be equal. All right? Anyways, stay tuned for a potential spoiler discussion. Like I said, I have a couple of things here and there that I can kind of pick apart, and one in particular that kind of catch me off guard and makes me go, okay, how can they handle certain things from the comics that have to deal with the characters and the lore and certain races that are included in this film, that you're probably going to be looking at a different light, and I might be taking that all apart in a spoiler discussion at a later time. For now, hit the like button, comment below, make sure to follow me on either Instagram, Twitter, or most especially on Twitch. DarkSpiderDavid is the username, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. The best way I can put it is that pretty much the entire 2/3 or so of season 2, which is comprised of 14 episodes as opposed to the season 1 13, is comprised of an overarching plot called Neogenic Nightmare, if I'm not mistaken. And trust me, when you're finished with this plot, you're going to be so sick of 2 particular words: neogenic and recombinator.
Neogenics.
Neogenic device?
Neogenics is involved.
Neogenic recombinator.
Neogenic treatments.
Part of the recombinator. Neogenic treatments.
Recombinator.
The recombinator.